welcome to part 2 of the chunky hooded scarf. If you have not watched part 1, no worries, go ahead and click that over. You will find the link down below or up above on the right side corner of your screen. And in the first part, it is the granny squares. So if you finished part 1, great, that is exactly where we're at. So part 2 is the scarf section. So let's go ahead and get this ball rolling. So while we wait for our squares to be blocked, we're gonna start our scarf section. So we want to grab our 10mm hook, and the reason I chose this one was so it can work up even quicker. Again, you can use whatever size you wish, but for purposes of time, I am going to use this one. So start off with your slip knot here. And we're gonna do a chain long enough for a scarf. So it will have to be arm length. So as long as from one tip of the arm to the other arm. So to start off, I'm gonna go with 80 chains. The way that this works, we're gonna be using a stitch called the mesh cluster stitch. You need to do a multiple of 3 plus 2. Okay, so 78 is a multiple of 3, plus 2 is 80 chains. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So do 80 chains. Make sure your chain is nice and loose, because then it will scrunch up and you just don't want that. And I forgot to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I personally like to use my stitch because sometimes I lose track of it. So just keep going to the end. You can do your 80 chains if you want, or you can do less. Just make sure you measure from one hand to the other hand when you're stretching out your arms, like far out, like if you're gonna give someone a hug. So I'll see you when you get there. Okay, so I went ahead and did 83 chains. So here's my startup chain. Okay, so 83 chains instead of the 80. The 80 chains wasn't long enough for me, so I decided to do the 83. Hi there, future me here. I did end up extending this chain foundation to 161 chains instead of the 83, and that's because the granny squares did come out a little bigger than I expected, and I do like my scarf to wrap around my neck at least once with a little bit of hang. And the best way that I found to measure this up is by folding up your chain foundation in half and then measure up at least 3 of the granny squares that you've made, plus a little bit more. I do explain this a little bit better in the future of this video, and you get to see exactly what I'm talking about. I just wanted to give you a heads up just in case you are following along with this video. To begin this part, row 1, we're gonna do single crochets all the way across your chains, and we're going to skip the first chain. So basically it is the second chain from the hook. So this is my first chain by the hook. This is the second chain from the hook. So skipping my first chain, go into the second one, and we're gonna go ahead and do a single crochet. Dun, da, da, da. Okay, that's my first single crochet. We're gonna marker up this first single crochet, and now I'm just gonna keep going down the line. That's 1, and we're gonna go into our next chain here. So let's put our hook in, yarn over, hold up the loop, yarn over, and pull through the 2 of them, and that's my second single crochet. All right, so let's do that one more time. Put your hook in, yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and go ahead and do that again. Go into your next chain and create a single crochet. All right, and just keep going all the way across until you get to the end. Okay, so I finished my startup chains, and I did all my single crochets all the way across, and I ended up with 82 single crochets. If for any reason it's like coiling up on ya, just stretch it out a little bit like this, and it should help a little bit. If it's not helping, that just means that your stitches are too tight, so you might have to frog your piece and redo it again with a looser grip of your working yarn, so that way you can work on it easier. Let's continue. We're gonna go ahead and move over to row 2. So first you turn your piece like so, and we're going to chain 3. Let me find my working yarn. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to grab my stitch marker here, and I'm going to mark it up here where my chain 3 is. And this chain 3 will work as a double crochet, just like we did with our corner to corner granny square. Hello, you're probably wondering, why the heck is this a different color from where I was actually looking? Well, it turns out that what I was doing is very incorrect, and I wanted to make sure that I gave you the correct process on how to create the mesh cluster stitch for the scarf. So because I did a whoopsie, I had to redo this section so that way you did it correctly when you're doing it yourself, when you're following along. So what we have here, so I did my single crochets already. So I did my foundation chain. I did a shorter one of 17 just for purposes of this section, so you could see the process on how it actually works. But you can still have your full 161 or 83, whatever number of chains that you have. You are okay. You got that. You can stay with that number. This is just to show you how the process works. When we're first starting the mesh cluster row, so we've got our foundation and then our row 1, which is our single crochets, and now we're doing row 2 of the mesh cluster, of the mesh cluster stitch. Sorry, it's a mouthful. I started with our chain 3, which does work as a double crochet from here on out. And what we're gonna do is that we're going to skip this chain here, which is where you can think of it as where your chain 3 is coming out of. So that's what it looks like at the top, and this is the front of it. And we're gonna skip that first one. Okay, so skip that and go into the next stitch right here, this one right there. So skip that one, go into the next one. We're gonna do a regular double crochet. So you yarn over, skip it, go to the next one, and do a regular double crochet. Put your hook in there, yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops. We've got 2 double crochets because your chain 3 counts as a double crochet. What we're gonna do next is that we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip this next stitch. Okay, after we skip this stitch, we go into the next stitch. This is where we will be doing what is called a double crochet cluster, which is what creates your mesh cluster stitch. Let me show you how that works. So we did the chain 1 and we skipped a stitch, we go into the next one. You yarn over, like if you're doing a double crochet. You go into that stitch, you yarn over, you pull up your loop, yarn over and pull through 2. You yarn over and you do not pull through these 2. Instead, you're gonna go back into that same stitch that you're working in already. You yarn over and pull up a loop. Now you've got 4 loops on your hook. You yarn over and pull through the first 2. We've got 3 loops left, so we yarn over and pull through the last 3, all 3 of those. And now you've got your double crochet cluster in that one stitch there. Let's keep going. Now we're going to chain 2. So that's chain 2, that's 1 and 2. And instead of skipping 1, We chain 2, so you skip 2. So you skip this one, and you work into the third one right here. This one right there. Skip 1, 2, go into the third. And we're gonna do another another double crochet cluster. Let me show you again so you can know how it works. You yarn over, skip the 2, work into the third, go right in there, and you want to make sure that you go through both loops here, the regular stitch, okay? Yarn over, pull up your loop. You got 3. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go back into that same stitch. Yarn over, pull up your loop. You got 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And you got yourself another double crochet cluster. Let's do that again. We chain 2. You skip 2. Go into the third one. You yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up your loop. You got 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over, go back into that same stitch. Yarn over, pull up your loop. You got 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2. Got 3 loops left, so you yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And you got yourself another double crochet cluster. Now, with your foundation chain, you're gonna have a very long way to go. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna keep doing that pattern. You chain 2, skip 2 stitches, work into the third one, and do yourself a double crochet cluster. I'll show you that stitch one more time just in case. And you're gonna go all the way across your foundation chain until you have 3 stitches left. But before we go there, let me show you one more time how to do the double crochet cluster. So don't forget the pattern. You chain 2, 1, 2, you skip 2 and go into the third one. You yarn over, go into that third one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up your loop. You got 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Now you've got 3 loops. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And you got yourself another double crochet cluster. Okay? So go ahead and pause that video and come back when you have 3 stitches left at the end of your foundation chain / single crochets. I don't know what I'm saying. I'll see you there. Okay, if you are here, that means that you have made it to your last 3 stitches. Now what we're gonna do is that we want to do what we did at the beginning. Instead of chaining 2, you want to chain 1. So let's go ahead and do that chain 1. And we're going to skip 1 stitch. And what we're going to do for these last 2 stitches is that we're going to do a regular double crochet. Okay, so let's skip that first chain there, or sorry, that first stitch there. You yarn over, do a regular double crochet on the second stitch. Pull up your loop, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now you're going to do that one more time in that last stitch there. So you yarn over, go into that last stitch, pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And you finished your second row, which is the mesh cluster stitch. And now you can move forward onto the next row. So I'm gonna take you back to the original video. So now that we finished this row, we're gonna go ahead and chain 1, and we're gonna turn our piece. So I'm running low on my yarn, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch colors so that way it doesn't run out. And I'm just gonna do my chain 1 like normal. So don't worry, you don't have to do this. You don't have to switch colors. You just stick to what you were doing, okay? So we got our chain 1 and we turned. Now we're gonna do single crochets all the way across. Okay, so the first single crochet, it's gonna go in our first stitch here where our last double crochet ended. So let's go ahead and take care of that. We're gonna do a single crochet right at the top there. That's one single crochet. And don't forget to use your stitch markers. They will be your best friends. Now we got another double crochet here. So we're gonna do a single crochet right at the top of there of that double crochet. So single crochets. Like I said, single crochets all the way across. The only difference is that we're gonna work, when there are spaces, we work into the space. When there are double crochets, we work into the stitch, okay? So this is where we have our chain 1 space. So we're gonna single crochet 1 in that space there, okay? Now we've got our first double crochet cluster, and we're gonna go right at the top there, right at the top, and you're gonna do a regular single crochet, okay? And now this is our 2 chain space, so we're gonna do 2 single crochets in this space here. So that's 1 and 2. 2 regular single crochets in that space. Our double crochet cluster. Okay, so work right at the top of that stitch there. We got our 2 chain space, so we're doing 2 single crochets in there. So that's 1, 2. Another double crochet cluster, so let's work our single crochet in there. A 2 chain space here, so 2 single crochets. 1, 2. I'm sure you see the pattern now. So a double crochet cluster, you work 1 single crochet in there. 2 chain space, so we do 2 single crochets. Okay, so you keep going, I'm gonna keep going to the very end, and I will see you when I get there. Okay, don't give up. I know you can do it. We're almost there. All right, so I'm at the end here, and I'm on my last double crochet cluster. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my single crochet at the top here. And I am at my chain 1 space here. So we're gonna do 1 single crochet in there instead of the 2. Okay, now we've got a double crochet here, a regular one. So we're gonna put our single crochet right at the top there. And then we've got our chain 3, which works as a double crochet as well. So we're gonna work a single crochet into that top of the chain 3. And we're gonna do a single crochet. Okay, so we've got a row of single crochets all the way across, and that finishes our row. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our 4th row, which is going to be this double crochet cluster section. And what we're gonna do here is that we are going to chain 3, 2 and 3. I'm gonna put my marker in there, and I'm going to turn my work. So we did our chain 3, okay, and we're gonna start working up another section of the double crochet clusters. All right, so it's a repeat of row 2, basically. Okay, so we're gonna start off by doing a double crochet into this section here. Don't forget, not this one. Okay, we're gonna skip the one where your chain 3 is coming out of, and we're gonna work into the next one. So let's go ahead and do a regular double crochet in there. Okay, and now we're gonna do a single chain. So chain 1, and we're gonna skip that stitch, and we're gonna work into the next one. And in this next one, we're gonna do a double crochet cluster. So this is where it starts. So let me show you, just in case you forgot. You yarn over, skip that stitch, go into the next one, go into that, and pull up a loop. You got 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, work into that same stitch, pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. And we've got our double crochet cluster. So it's gonna look just like this row here. So you wanna make sure that you're following the same pattern so that way it's aligned properly. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip 2 and go into the third one. So yarn over, and we're doing a double crochet cluster. Pull up your loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go back into that stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the 3. And we got our double crochet cluster. Okay, so keep going all the way to the end. I'll see you right at the last double crochet cluster, so that way we can work the end of the row together. So we're at our last 3 stitches, just like last time in row 2. And we're gonna go ahead and chain 1. And we're going to skip that stitch there and go and do a double crochet into the next 2. So double crochet in here and double crochet in the last one. And we're gonna do a double crochet, just a regular one. And then 1 more double crochet in that last stitch. And we are done with our row. Okay, so now we're gonna continue doing that all the way, so that way it is wide enough to be a scarf that I like to wear. So I will see you at the end, and then I'll show you how to assemble everything together. All right, here we go, you guys. Part 3 is on the screen for you right now. I am waiting for you, so I will see you soon. Let's finish this hooded scarf now.